But moving forward, the next one I wanted to discuss with you was communication and strategies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you are an expert at this because you have your podcast and you obviously have a network and you have a release socially where you can get out your anxieties or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
for the average person, they don't have that. So, as far as communication strategies, how can co parents effectively communicate with each other despite personal differences? And what tools and techniques can they use to maintain respectful communication?
Texting, everything in writing, because when you're on the phone, obviously you can forget your thought, you can go on a tangent, emotions get involved, somebody says something, then now all of a sudden the conversation is a whole different topic than what we're supposed to be talking about at the beginning. So I'm very big on just, hey, we don't even need to be on the phone. We can just text. And like we have that literally in our parenting plan. Like the only time we are to call each other is for an actual like emergency, I need to talk to you right now situation. But other than that, everything is text. So tools, even if you need to use parenting apps.
Speaking of parenting apps, so in doing my research, well, I would say recommended research, because a number of parents have hit me up and told me about this app. Now, Talking Parents, the top 10 of all parenting apps, and allows you to do a number of things such as coordinate with your co parenting partner. It has been featured on a number of shows and tabloids. It allows you to secure messaging, alternate records, accountable for calling, whether it be like, let's say, instant messaging or let's say video conferencing with your ex or whatever to get something. This will keep track of all those videos. Not only that, you'll be able to share calendar dates, accountable payments. Let's say there was a payment that needed to be made outside of your child support stuff, such as going half on school pictures or something to that effect. This could be, transacted through the app, and they could keep track of that for you, as well as documents and other things such as, like, let's say, medical reports, or let's say you couldn't make it to a parent-teacher conference and you needed to upload the report card. Now, I'm too far along gone in my parenting. My kids are grown for the most part, so I'm beyond this. But if I did have to go back to save myself from toxicity, this would be the app that I would recommend. And they are not sponsoring this ad. I'm just doing my research and recommending this on my own.
Parenting is hard. Separated parenting? Now that's superhero status. Enter Talking Parents, your secret weapon. Talking Parents keeps communication between co-parents organized and accountable, so you can spend less time wondering who said what and more time being a parent. So go ahead, be everything you can for them. Being there makes all the difference. Secure, accountable communication. Talking Parents. Download the app and sign up today.
To keep track of certain stuff. For me, that wasn't a big deal of needing a parenting app, but it's still a part of our parenting plan. Because of, our situation, I ended up having to get, a TPO order, and that is in there about texting only. So neither one of us can even tell the other person, like, hey, the sky is green. Like that's that's out of bounds. So it's like, if we can keep it strictly focused like on the child and only about the needs I need to get done, and then just not taking my shots about what the other parent is doing or not doing. And that was one thing that my main issue was, doing those shots. So that was my level of toxicity, because it's like, you're not doing this. And my whole point of us going through the court process was to get him to do that joint thing. Because it's like, I wanted that for my child. Like, you need to have that. But it's like, okay, I need you to step up. But again, the controller in me trying to tell you to do all this, it's not going to work. So let's just go this way, and that's safer. And it's like, let's just make this fair, especially for our child. So definitely keep the other side comments to yourself, because I can be kind of petty, and I know I'm very smart mouth. So it's just, hey, this is what's happening. And then it's kind of like, don't write paragraphs. One lesson I learned: don't write paragraphs. If you got to write paragraphs, you're already going in the wrong direction. Just 2 or 3 sentences, say what needs to be said, keep it to the point, and move on.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that helps me too, as far as mine is, again, with my situation is realizing that we're not friends. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they tell you in court, all the time, well, this is all about the kids, but when you go into court, minus the kids, they
Hmm.
put you against each other, and you
Yeah.
guys are literally fighting to see who is the best parent for the,
Hmm.
for the best option for the children. So in one aspect, they're like, okay, for this 2 hours in trial, or whatever your situation is in mediation, let's hammer this out and find out what's going on. And then when we step out of here, despite whatever is said, you guys got to show face in front of those kids and not,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. I think the trick is for probably 99% of the parents out there is, how do you deal with your ex who is not about court decorum? You know what I mean? And sticking to the script of not
Mhm.
getting the children involved. And, especially in a lot of American situations, including my own, where the children year after year after year are seeing this, back and forth, and
Yep.
then trying to pull the reins back and say, all right, let's go to a parenting app. Let's regress, let's bring this back. And then trying to stay away from the past,
Mhm.
especially the negative part of the past, where you're like, well, you did this 2 months ago and you said this. And it's like, well, we're in month October now.
Right. Like,
Do you want to relive? Do you want to relive, February, or do you want to, live in October? So,
right.
but it's
And it
what it
does
is.
affect the child because it affected my daughter because, her seeing like the back and forth. And then I think also not just in communication with the co-parents, but also your communication about the parent around your child. Like you can think like it's been several times where I think I'm speaking in private because I'm in my room, but my daughter's like, okay, I'm in the living room and like I still heard you. So now I
Do
have
the
to
thing. Yeah.
discuss this with her. So now it's to the point to where if I do feel like I need to say something, get something on my chest, and vent to like my friends or my mom or whatever, I literally go outside. Like, so there's no way that you can hear anything that I'm saying. And I want her to think that, hey, no matter what I personally feel about her father, I want her to believe moving forward that I have no issue. He's great. Like, love your dad. Like, that's my narrative when it comes to her. And just knowing we have to be very mindful as parents. Like, you you think your child is not listening, but if you're in the same 1,000 feet, it's a no-go. You need to go somewhere else.
I think on my end with the father's rights aspect, I try to tell the fathers it's kind of like holding cups of hot coffee in both
Mhm.
hands. You know what I mean? And you want to try to hold as much as you can because you need that caffeine to keep up your energy because you're a single parent or whatever it is that you're doing. And you're trying not to spill that coffee on the ground and hot coffee on yourself. At the same time, you're still trying to explain and move your, you know what I mean, and explain what's
Mhm.
going on. People talk with their hands or stuff. So when I talk to fathers, I try to tell them, when you're dealing with your ex, especially if you have to deal with them, let's say at a parent teacher conference or in
Mhm.
person or even on the phone and you're not doing the parenting app, try to picture yourself talking with coffee in your hands and how quickly you want to get away from her so you can focus on your task, which is getting the coffee to where you need to get it without spilling it. You know what I mean? Instead of her or him stopping you and saying, blah 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 drama. What about February? Or whatever. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, and you got coffee all over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that visualization helps me as far as trying to curve the toxic back and forth, and doing the history check on each other, which is very hard to do after a long time of back and forth.
Yeah. And that's one thing I learned. Like, it just focus on today.